This character, I think by now, everybody knows the foreshadowing. They probably recognize him. This doctor was the same doctor that did a checkup on Izuku. Now, there is a lot of theories I know many are going to be making thanks to this. It's been a popular fan theory in the community for a very long time now that the doctor that was talking to Shigaraki and All for One and all that was the doctor that did a checkup on Izuku. This has been a fan theory for a long time. Now, this chapter officially confirms that, but also it confirms that Izuku was with the same doctor that was working for All for One. Now, what does this necessarily mean? Well, for a long time now, the community has been kind of split. Does Izuku have a quirk? For instance, did he have a quirk at an early age and was it stolen, or was he truly born quirkless? That has been a big theory for a long time. And many showed their own reasons to why it would be a good or a bad thing on both sides. And I've always been on the side of, I don't want Izuku to actually have a quirk. Like, I never wanted or want Izuku to be born with a quirk. I don't think it would really fit the message of the story for what was set up since the very beginning. It wouldn't take away from the effort and the struggle to be where he's at, but still, he was born quirkless, and I always wanted it like that, even if the doctor was working for All for One, if it was officially confirmed. And now it has. And my personal opinion after reading this chapter quite a few times, it's clear as day that it's pretty much all but officially confirmed that Izuku was born quirkless. And the reason why I say that is because the doctor is obviously experimenting on children. Now, this next part I'm about to say, I take no credit for. It was told to me on Twitter, but apparently the doctor, the guy that we saw in this chapter, he is actually the grandpa or something of the winged Nomu that attacked Izuku in Season 2. He's the grandpa of that Nomu. Which would mean that he turned his own grandson into that abomination like a Nomu. So if he can do something like that to his own child, then he has no moral. He's a horrible, horrible, horrible person. Like a bad man. So the only reason why he wouldn't turn Izuku potentially into a Nomu is if Izuku didn't have a quirk. Because if this man's working for, All for One, he obviously has his connections. He probably can do a lot of things to be able to work like he does. So I feel like if Izuku truly was, born quirkless, he wouldn't have been touched. And if he was born with a quirk, he would have been kidnapped, taken by the doctor, and everything would have been over for Izuku. We would never have had our story. So that's my point here. I think that this pretty much confirms that Izuku never had a quirk because of how the doctor operates. If he can do something like that to his grandson, then Izuku is definitely on the table if he had a strong quirk that would be worthy enough to be stolen. I feel like they would just kidnap Izuku instead of just, stealing his quirk. It would just be a hell of a lot easier, and I think at the end of the day, because of how he operates and how he's making these Nomu, it's what he would want in the first place. Now, looking at the chapter now, getting off of that, I think I clarified, it's clear as day that this doctor has been working with All for One for a very long time. I'm not talking about just right before All for One's downfall, before All Might took him down. I'm talking about how this doctor has potentially been working with All for One for an extremely long time. And most likely his ambition is tied into probably creating beings that have multiple quirks. I feel like before even he ever met All for One, he probably was fascinated by the idea of being able to fuse beings with multiple quirks. That's probably something he was always interested in because of the way this chapter depicts it. It's just the impression I get. And I feel like that's probably what made him want to work with All for One, is because All for One being able to snatch quirks and then apply them to others would allow him to speed up the progress of creating something like a Nomu that would have multiple quirks tied into it. It just seems like something the Doctor wanted to do for a very long time. So I feel like that's a little bit more to his personality. He's been working with All for One for a long time, but I feel like his ambition and what he wants has been around a lot longer. Now, when it comes to the Doctor and how he is as an individual, I like how he is kind of correlated to Nighteye, how he's kind of very similar. And to explain what I'm coming from, is that if we go back to the beginning of the Overhaul arc, Nighteye was someone that did not believe in Izuku. He thought Izuku did not have the right, or he wasn't worthy to inherit One for All. He was not someone that was worthy to carry the Symbol of Peace title. He was not someone to be the #1 hero. That is what Nighteye believed in. And when you look at the Doctor in this chapter, he is someone that is very reminiscent of Nighteye. He is someone that's like the villain side Nighteye. That's like, I don't believe in you, Shigaraki. You're someone that is a 20-year-old boy that hasn't accomplished anything. You don't even live up to 1% of your master All for One. That's pretty much what he was saying. And in that way, it's very identical to what Izuku went through. So Shigaraki going through that exact same development that, Izuku went through. He is trying to surpass someone that is so great, such a legend. How can you overcome that? And Izuku is taking stride in trying to do that, and it's taking him a long process to do. While when you see someone like, Shigaraki, he's trying to do the exact same thing, but on the villain side. He's trying to surpass his mentor, his master, which is All for One. And that's kind of what the Doctor's trying to say, is that why should I offer you my services? Why should I allow you to use my technology, these high ends, when you can't even do anything? You haven't accomplished nothing, Shigaraki. Like, why should I lend you my help? He's like, you need to prove yourself. Just because I am loyal to your mentor, All for One, and he is someone I truly work with, he's my partner, it doesn't mean that I instantly trust you and want to work with you of all people, because you haven't proved anything to me. My loyalty doesn't extend to someone else. That's pretty much what he's saying. So I like that. I like the character. It fits well within how villains will work and how All for One would want to teach Shigaraki, because All for One doesn't just want to hand everything on a silver platter to Shigaraki. He wants Shigaraki to work for it, to actually become a proper villain. And that's what's been happening since the very beginning. He's been teaching him how to utilize his quirk, how to have an organization, a group, teaching him how to build connections, to have a plan, a motive, initiative, and now he's basically trying to get the help, the support of people that used to help out All for One, get his help and all that. So basically, All for One's not giving Shigaraki anything. He's allowing him to slowly work towards it. He's laid out like the guide, like the beginning stages of it, but he has to progress and be able to accomplish these things, or he's just going to end up dead. He has his difficulty on hard mode. It's very similar to what Izuku's having to go through. Like, Izuku may not have the similarity of, like, he could lose his life at any second, like going up against Gigan and all that, but at the same time, though, Izuku's having to try hard to be able to accomplish things, to really make a name for himself and not mess up with the quirk he's inherited from One for All, right? All Might. So that right there is a big moment for this chapter. I appreciate how far Horikoshi went to demonstrate how Shigaraki is definitely going to be changing, and this is going to be a really big major arc for him, because once again, Shigaraki is going to be our final villain. He's going to be the end game of the story. Like, we are seeing the development of the final villain while the story progresses. I love stories like that. I love seeing a nemesis just slowly progress alongside. Because when you look at Shigaraki, he was a man-child. He was someone that couldn't really take criticism. He was angry, quick to anger, and he would lash out, strike out at anyone. And you can see he doesn't really do that much. He didn't really strike out at any of our characters. I mean, he wasn't even angry with the Doctor. He went along, was nice. I mean, he wasn't really mean to Gigan or anything. He's really calm, which is kind of completely different from how he was when the series first started. You can see how much Shigaraki has developed as a character. He's becoming more, just colder and calm, which that already is showing signs of how much his growth has been. And so when he finally is able to actually be at the point to where he can get the recognition from the supporters of All for One, that's when he truly has reached a status that is really great, that he can be a really good villain. And I feel like him going up against the CEO that is trying to come at him, like I said already in my last chapter review, will allow him to learn how to handle the underworld connections and the business side of things. So let's talk about the Doctor and what he is creating. The high-ends. It's nice to see that the Nomu that fought Endeavor many chapters ago wasn't the only copy, like the only high-end. As a brief reminder, if I'm correct, I could be wrong, you correct me in the comments below, but as a brief reminder, remember, what's going on here with Shigaraki and the Doctor is actually like a month or so prior to the events of when Endeavor, or like a month prior, in the current story, and it's like right before the events or whatever of Endeavor being named as the #1 hero. It could either be a month before that or like a day before that, but whatever the case may be, though, pretty much at this time, this encounter Shigaraki's having with the Doctor and meeting the High Ends is basically how Dabi eventually gets the High End to go after Endeavor, and with Hawks as well. So we might get to see when Hawks first is introduced and talks with the League of Villains, but also when Dabi initiates and goes after Endeavor. I feel like we're about to see something like that, because we clearly see a High End in this chapter that's really identical to what went after Endeavor. And I feel like out of all the models, if I had to assume just from shonen logic, that the High End that fought Endeavor was probably one of the weakest out of all of them there. Because I highly doubt someone how the Doctor is, looking at his personality, he would give his best product to Shigaraki and Dabi to use. There's just no way he would do that. There's just no way he would give his best product, even if he slightly trusts him, he would give his best product to throw out there as, like, training exercise. So I feel like if that High End gave Endeavor so much trouble, oh my god, like, it's scary, because look how much Endeavor had to push himself to bring something like that down. If there's like 6 to 7 or 15 more of these things out there, oh my god, someone's gonna die. Like, seriously, Endeavor almost legitimately died. Look what he had to sacrifice just to bring something like that down. That's technically not a final boss. High Ends are just like the minions that Shigaraki's gonna have eventually, so Endeavor really doesn't stand a chance. Like, oh my god. Izuku would struggle against a High End. There's no way he would be able to beat a High End, especially with what Endeavor went through. At this moment, Izuku wouldn't be able to. So, yeah. Pretty scary stuff with the introduction of that with all the High Ends. I like the female-looking version. I like the different designs. They look really Frankenstein-ish monsters, and I think that Horikoshi is definitely going good, like, really deep down with the design. Like, he's always been good with, like, villain designs and stuff, and I feel like the Nomu designs are something that he really shines in. Like, you know, the original Nomu design was very simplistic, but really cool, and then when we saw High End, I really loved that design. I think many can agree with me, and now seeing all these Nomu designs in their, like, capsules or whatever, their test tubes, it really just shines how great of an artist Horikoshi is to really go in on these designs and make them so unique and stand out. I love the way they look. I want more of them, and I believe in due time we will get to see more of them in action as we progress through the story. Now, speaking of the Nomus, though, I do want to once again mention the fact that the Doctor is obviously turning children into these Nomus, because we know that High End, the original High End, came from a preschool or whatever. So because of that, you can assume most of these High Ends are children, and what's going to happen if the media, the public, finds out that these creatures that they're bringing down, they're taking down and destroying, is actually children? I am very curious about that, how that would be handled, actually, because we know for a fact Horikoshi is using the media in this series. It's a big thing. And one of these days, Endeavor's secret's going to be obviously leaked, and we know Hawks is going to find out. We're going to get to see him maybe make a choice to switch sides, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to eventually come out, because that's how the media works, and that's what Horikoshi is setting up. But I wonder if the media will find out what these Nomu really are. Like, they're children. And if the media does, obviously, that's going to be a real big public outlash, because it's not just the fact that they're children, but they've already taken down so many Nomus that are potentially children that it's going to weigh heavily on the heroes' minds, because they've ended them instantly. But it's not just that. The public are going to be like, you need to save them. You need to save them. Which, these monsters are already hard enough as is. Like, look what Endeavor had to go through to bring High End down, okay? That says a lot. And so imagine, instead of going all in to try to end it, he had to actually try to save it and capture it. That's a lot harder. That's a hell of a lot harder. So yeah, I feel like at this time, we're getting some really good build-up for the next arc that's going to be pretty scary. And I really do hope that we continue this pace with the perspective of Shigaraki and his group. I like this POV. I want more of this, because even though I like Izuku's perspective and all that, and seeing how he progresses, I think we need more of Shigaraki's perspective of how he progresses as a villain. So hopefully we get more chapters like this. This isn't the final chapter, and we get to see more of this in the upcoming chapters. Now, one last thing I want to talk about before I wrap up this video let's talk about Gigan. Gigan, as an individual, incredibly OP. Obvious. But from the translation, it's implied that Gigan only, has one quirk. But because of how weird the translation is, you could assume that he might have multiple, but he didn't need multiple to be as strong as he is. The translation's very wonky, and I don't really know how to interpret it, so anyone that can read the traditional Japanese of this chapter, please confirm if it said he had multiple quirks or not. But Gigan is OP, but you can see he's very mentally unstable. We already knew he had an attachment to All For One, but as soon as he heard All For One's voice, he started purring and rubbing his face up against the radio. That speaks volumes about his type of character, his mental state. That he's just so brainwashed, infatuated with All For One, that he doesn't think clearly. It's just all about All For One. And so, I don't think someone like Gigan can ever truly be attached to Shigaraki just because of how attached he is to All For One. And it's not also just that. It's also the fact that he was purring. He was legitimately purring when he was rubbing his face up against the radio. That's weird. Is that a subtle imply that, it's implying that he has, a cat-like quirk or something? I don't really know, but it was weird to see the sound effects of purring. I guess it could be a reference to contentment, but still, having something like that with his character, I don't really know. Shigaraki says himself, though, he doesn't want Gigan. He's useless or whatever, which I think, in a way, I agree with Shigaraki here. Even though Gigan is very powerful, Gigan as an individual, I don't think would mesh really well with what Shigaraki is building. See, Shigaraki's group, his villain group, is actually more villains that are for justice in a way. They have bad things they do, but for the right reasons, and they're also like family. When you look at them as individuals, they're like family. So someone like Gigan that's like a monster, that's mindless, I don't think would really mesh well with what Shigaraki is going for. But that's just my personal opinion. But I think I want to end this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you enjoy my content, and if you enjoy this video and enjoy, this chapter. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.